Hey boys and girls, teacher Deborah here. I am back with our missionary story. I'm actually finishing it up. John Cook. So John and Louis had been waiting to go to South Korea for a long time. They actually had their first baby, Carrie, as they waited. And so it was time for them to go to South Korea. They got on the ship and they went. They got there and John started teaching English lessons to college students. And as they did so, they also had to learn the South Korean language because the people there didn't know English. And so when John and Louis would share about Jesus, someone had to interpret them. And so they would teach in English, then someone else would share it in South Korean so they would understand. So John and Louis would write letters because they missed their families in America. They would write letters to tell them what was going on. And during that time, John had so much work to do. They had to take classes, they had to share about Jesus, they had so much homework to do, 3 hours every day doing homework. Oh, that's a long time to do homework. Have you ever done your homework in 3 hours? So John and Louis, continued to share the gospel and they would go to orphanages. They knew that God loved all the children, even the orphanages, He loved them. So they would go and share the love of God with them and tell them about Jesus, how he had come and died and came back to life, that he had died for their sins. So John and Louis continued to share the good news, and then they started their very first good news club in a playground. Wow, playground, and all the kids who come to this good news club. And then they started other good news clubs in people's homes. So during that time, John and Louis had their second baby, Kevin. It was an exciting time. So while they were in South Korea, it's so hard when you go to a different country. Everything is different. And so they had hardships. They struggled and they had some scary times as well. One time Kerry wandered off. He wandered off and he went like 2 blocks away and his parents looked for him. They couldn't find him. And so they prayed to God. Would God hear their prayer? Did he even know where Kerry was? Yes, he did. And, as they continued to pray, someone brought Kerry back home. And they thanked God for answering their prayers. And so another scary moment, it was when they had someone come to spray bug poison in their house to kill the bugs, that their son, Kevin, breathed the poison and he became unconscious. It was scary. And so they ran. They took him to the doctor. And the doctor did all he could, but he said that he was going to die. So they prayed and prayed. Would God hear their prayer? Yes, he did. As they were waiting and watching, John saw Kevin's thumb move. And so Kevin was gaining his strength back. He didn't die. And they were so excited that their son completely recovered from that poison. And so Kevin, and their other 2 brothers, Chris and Kimball, grew up in South Korea. And their parents lived there for 25 years. Wow, 25 years. Sharing the good news with boys and girls. And because they did that, so many boys and girls heard about Jesus and their families, and so many believed in Jesus. And so many other South Korean people started to tell their friends and their families about Jesus. But you know what? So it was time for John and Lois to retire. They retired from being missionaries in South Korea, and they came back to America. But they still go back to see how other missionaries are doing, to hold conferences there as well. You know, boys and girls, John and Lois were willing. They were willing to do what God had asked them to do. How about you? Are you willing? Will you go and tell others about Jesus? He wants you to do that. Will you go and tell others about Jesus?